Discuss this further now with Pieter Britz. He's from PM Immigration. Peter, very good evening, and thanks so much for your time. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this or how I should feel about this. And you just heard the IFP saying that this is not xenophobic. In fact, it's going to help prevent xenophobia. Now, I'd like to know how you think about it.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. The issue that is perceived by foreigners, especially in the international framework, is that we are xenophobic based on the attacks. Now, with the premise to cut down further to between from a current 60-40% split through locals and the foreigners to 80-20. You have to look at multinationals, big corporations, and a lot of corporations that will actually feel this is not a place to invest in South Africa. Whereas on the one hand, you have unemployment rate that is higher, but on the other hand as well, the moment that you kind of close down the country for investment, you will hurt the economy a bit more, actually a lot more, than letting foreigners in. The thing is about skill set. It's not the volume of foreigners that come in. The issue is skill set. And as we all know, South Africa has undergone a massive brain drain, and because of that, we have to employ foreigners. I mean, currently we are experiencing a new level of brain drain. So the issue is skills. The skill set is the problem. It's not just the volume of people, it's the skills. Now, the moment that the skills go out of the country, you cannot just employ anybody who might fit the position. That's why people use, and multinationals and corporations use, the skill set of the foreigners.
So, Peter, I mean, you'd have to explain to me, because I'm not sure who they're referring to when they talk about foreign nationals. Are we looking at people who come from Europe, from America? Are we looking from somewhere else? Are we looking at our neighboring African countries? Because that has been the biggest bugbear for locals. If we go back to those attacks and the unhappiness that some South Africans feel over, foreigners, who they term them, working in the country. So who are we talking about? And if it is those who surround us from our neighboring countries, it's very difficult to control, as we know. It's difficult to control the borders. It's difficult to stop them from coming. And we know that South Africans employ them, because we know that South Africans know that they can pay them less than other South Africans.
There is the issue then. If they talk about foreigners, you get different categories. You get your low-skilled, your high-skilled foreigners, and then these, obviously, that are with spouses in the country, or Section 11(6) visa holders. Now, I think at volume range, it's actually a mistake, I think, personally, that happened through Home Affairs by allowing the dispensation programs, like the Zimbabwean dispensation programs, where 700,000 Zimbabweans got a visa and they can stay, there's no problem, they can work, run business, all the sorts. So I think if you're talking about xenophobia and they want to clamp down, I think they're more referring to the neighboring countries. I think they're not referring to Europe, the Americas, and the Asians. I do feel personally that's very unfair. You have to, if you want to employ any foreign national, I think it's fair that they go through the exact same steps and exact same legislation to be able to employ a foreign national. Mm. Yeah, that's input I have to put on that.
So, I mean, we know other countries that try to do this, or, I mean, even for working visas, for those who might have wanted to go to London a couple of years ago. We know there are some kinds of controls that are in place. Now, I think what they might be also referring to is we have a lot of people from India. There's an influx of people from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh who are also in the country. If we have to look at that, not just our neighboring countries, how do you control that then? What do you need to do without it being seen as xenophobic?
You have to follow the rule of law in terms of the criteria. For each and every category of work visa, there's a specific criteria that you have to comply to. Now, I feel it would be fair to let everybody jump through a specific criteria before you employ, versus the dispensation programs that have been running, and hundreds of thousands of people got work visas, and I think that is where this problem stems from. I don't think it's an issue that they have with, like I mentioned, the previous countries. I do think it's neighboring countries, and it's unfair to the rest of the world in a global sense if they keep on doing that, just allowing certain type of migrant in skilled or not skilled versus the rest of the world.
Okay, so a reasonable request then from the IFP, you think, Pieter, but it's just how we do it would actually be the issue.
I don't think this is the right way to go about it. I do think you have to put in legislation on the individual aspect or the individual job opportunity. You cannot take from and comb everywhere the same comb to say, fine, 80-20. If you do that, mark my words, you will hurt the economy badly. Multinationals will take their big business out of the country because it is so difficult then to run a business, because the multinationals do need to employ some of their own staff to run the systems and the programs and the structures. If you look at telecommunication companies, they have to bring the foreign nationals in. Engineering firms, places that do a lot of stonework, a lot of those specialized skills needs to come from abroad, and that takes people, it takes workforce. There's the same thing that happened to Mahindra. Mahindra had a plant here in South Africa, and it was too difficult to get the work visas and keep their foreign nationals, so they left. They packed up the whole plant and they left. Okay. And that also, you lost jobs there, and you also had the economy further. So I honestly don't think it's the right way. There should be a better structure. I think there must relook legislation and not just go broadband, a ban on this 80-20 split. It's not feasible for the country at this point in time.
It could be a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Thanks very much, Pieter Britz. He's from PM Immigration. They're just explaining to us this call from the IFP and why it could not work.